Good morning. I don't know if anyone's going to show up here, but that's okay. Boy, it's been a cold couple of days. um, yeah, it's been a fun winter so far. We've got lots going on around here. Seed starting. It's that time of year, getting ready for the spring garden already. And it's um, we're doing the seed starting. We got figs started. I got lots of cuttings. I've got more to take actually. We have 24 in-ground figs. I always have to think about that number because it changes frequently. And we have about 80 plus varieties of figs. Most of them are in pots. And right now they're in the workshop until we get past this newest freeze. The freezing weather, the figs can take weather down to about the temperatures down to about 20 degrees, and when it gets lower than that, that's when you start to have die off, especially if you have in-ground figs. The potted figs. They they have their roots more exposed, so I tend to bring them in a little sooner and put them under cover, and then as soon as we get past the really cold temps, that's when I bring them back out, make sure they're watered, and then we'll wait. This is our second go around with the freezing weather, and so we'll have to wait and see if this is going to be the last one. We never know. We often get late freezes, probably in February or March. But if we don't get down to that 20-degree mark, that's my spot. If it gets down to 20, that's when I have to do stuff with things out in the garden, mostly like the figs, covering. We have some cold tolerant, cool tolerant plants. But if it gets really too cold, we go out and cover them with frost cloth or bubble wrap. We talked about that in a video about a year or so ago, where we use bubble wrap to insulate our plants out in the garden. It does really amazing if you have some bubble wrap and you have things like garlic or a few other things they can take cold weather but not really cold. We'll go out there and just throw bubble wrap on them, and that tends to do really well for those plants. So that's kind of one of our tricks. And in packing and materials and things like that, if we get bubble wrap, we tend to hold on to it, and that's where it goes. And it lasted for quite a while. I don't think we've ever necessarily gotten rid of bubble wrap. It's one of those things that a lot of people have around, so it's fun. Oh, what else in the garden? This weekend, Saturday, actually on 25th, that's Sarah and I's 40th anniversary. We are going to be going up to Pilot Point. There's going to be a seed swap plant exchange up there at Rooted In. I'm not sure if it's actually at their place, or I think it's at an event center that's up there by them. We're going to be going up there and taking some fig cuttings, maybe some elderberry cuttings, and make those available, maybe trade up with some other people on some things up there. So that'll be fun. But yeah, so 40 years, our anniversary. I know it seems hard to believe, but yes, I am that old. But yeah, so I was thinking back, Sarah and I we've been gardening on a fairly small scale for most of our married lives. And Sarah she started a lot sooner with her mom and dad. They often, I remember when I met them, they had fruit trees and raised beds in their backyard in California. And they grew a lot of stuff. In fact, Sarah's parents were beekeepers as well back in the day. And I have some of their old original equipment that's, probably more antique now, but we've got an extractor that they had. We still use it. Sarah's dad made a table specifically for that extractor, and we have that. Some old bee boxes made out of redwood. I believe they're redwood. That they'd had them in their shed for a long time. They hadn't been keeping bees for a long time. So we inherited a lot of that stuff. We took a trip out to California, drove out there, and knowing that we were going to pick up some things like the extractor. So we loaded up our truck when we were out there and brought that back. And that was a number of years ago. But we still go out there. Sarah's mom does a lot of gardening. It's hard for her these days. And when we go out, we try to help out where we can. She has this really, it's a fairly old orange tree. And last time, maybe time before last, we were out there, we did some pruning with her on her orange tree. It had some places that it needed to be trimmed back. Some places on the tree that just weren't as healthy as it once was. And then when we were back a few months ago, we looked at the tree and it's starting to come back and looking a lot better. Kumquat trees, loquat trees. She does a lot of things in her small yard there in California. My dad also is a gardener out there. He does mostly container gardening. He grows a lot of things. He's got these big garden boxes out on his back porch and outside of his window, outside of his the side of his house. And they do strawberries and potatoes and chard and all kinds of things. Some things that we don't grow, but he likes them. So, we go out there and we help turn his compost and things like that when we're out there. And we try to get out there at least once a year, if not a couple times a year, just to see. Snowing. Hey, Dennis. Yeah, it's we had snow last week. So you must be a little south of us. Or I know that there's a blizzard warning actually south of us, and Houston was getting snow. I was listening to Ryan Hall last night, and he was saying that New Orleans could get up to 8 inches of snow. And I was talking to Sarah. I said, "Boy, that's got to be unusual." And he was saying that, yeah, they'd seen, that's kind of the record down there for New Orleans. They get 8 inches of snow, but it was within the realm of possibility. So yeah, no, it's cold. That's a cold wind that's been coming through. I'm looking forward to it warming up just a little bit. I think when I woke up this morning, it was about 20 degrees Fahrenheit here. So I went out and we looked at the garden. Every morning I got to go out and check the chickens, change their water because it's usually a frozen block of ice. It freezes up overnight. And so I go out there and with the chickens, change their food out, change their water out, and got out there, and I have to walk through the garden to get out there anyway. And so go out there, and the garden's looking pretty good. All of our coverings stayed in place, even with the wind. We had some strong wind come through with that front. But yeah, so it's, everything's in place. A lot of things like broccoli. Our broccoli gets a lot sweeter with the cold weather. It likes the cold. So we've been harvesting broccoli, and it's okay. Yeah. Fort Worth. Yeah. So, that's interesting. Yeah, no, it's not too far south of us. We're just a little north of Dallas here. And so we're right at the top of Lake Ray Hubbard, and no snow here this morning, but I know they mentioned that we could potentially get a little bit of snow. We didn't today though. Last week we got about 2.5 inches. And then, of course, there was some, freezing precip that kind of crusted it as well. I was surprised at how long it lasted. It lasted in the shadows, in the shade, for almost the whole week, which is unusual. Usually we get warmed up, and it usually is gone the next day, as you know. Yeah, so lots of things. As far as the bees, I've got the bees out there. I don't mess with them during the winter. I watch the entrances on the warm days just to make sure that I see bees coming and going. So I haven't poked my head out there since it's been so cold. They're not going to be doing anything anyway. They're all huddled up inside. Bad news to try and open them up in the winter. But um, when I checked in on them before the cold weather, the hives had plenty of stores. I didn't harvest any honey this year, if you can believe that. So they have all of their honey that they created last year, and they're doing very well. They're very strong, and I'm just leaving them be for now. I don't sell queens because what I'm trying to do, what we're doing here is we're working on about a half an acre in the back to convert that into a really big garden, half acre size garden. And so what we're doing is I'm actually downsizing the bees, and we're going to actually relocate them and probably sell all the ones we have for now, because we've got some big projects that we're going to be doing out there with some fencing. We're going to be building a gazebo, a pavilion actually, and doing a lot of work with the NRCS and USDA. We got some projects that we're going to be working on with them, really around gardening and rainwater collection, doing some things with a rain garden. And so there's some big stuff that we got going on. We're probably going to have to get some big equipment out there. And I didn't want to have the bees be a distraction for all those big projects. And they're going to be right where we're going to be doing some things. So, but I do have several friends that have lots and lots of bees. And one of my friends, he's actually in Terrell. He did sell. I'm not sure. He's been working on his queen genetics, and he's big time into queen production. So when I get queens, because on occasion I change my queens. I don't let my bees open breed. For some reason, where we're at, the bees in this area, if you let them open mate, they come back spicy. I think it's just where we're located. There's plenty of open space, and there's some genetics around that tend to be spicy. So whenever it comes time for my bees to get a new queen, I generally go to him and get my queens. Lindsay Bee Company, Lindsey. And I'm not sure he's selling right now or not, but I know he's working on his genetics, and he has provided several in the past for me. Really good queens. I've been really happy with those. But as far as the gardening and the bees, lots and lots of stuff going on around here. What about you? Do you have some projects going on? I know sounds like you're into the beekeeping. How many hives do you have there, Dennis? You have to let me know. I know several of my friends here, even in town, have 20, 30 plus beehives. I know one of my friends has some on his front porch. And I've never had any trouble. I don't think he's had any trouble with getting packages delivered or anything like that. But so, yeah, it's interesting. That's the thing about bees and beekeeping. Most of the time, if you take control and you watch what you've got, you could have bees right by your front door, and they wouldn't bother anybody. Not that I would necessarily suggest that, but I've seen people have bees in very close proximity to their house, their back doors, front doors, with no problem. But you have to be careful. You have to keep an eye on your bees. As far as the garden, golly, we've got lots of plans to work on as soon as the weather is not quite freezing. We're putting in a walk-through grape tunnel. That's one of my big projects. So that's coming up. I've got the pieces for it. I've got the grapes. It's going to be a cattle panel arch system. I've got the cattle panels. I've got the T-post. So all I got to do is have a little bit of weather and some gumption. And that's going to be coming from our house. And you'll walk through this grape tunnel to get out to the garden. So that's one of my big projects. And I'm looking forward to that. So I got the pieces for it. We've got a big project that has to do with water. When we get rain, as we do on occasion, the rain, we're situated kind of on a mid tier of a hill. So behind me, the water comes off the hill and it slopes down going to the lake. We're fairly close to the lake. And if we get a couple of inches of rain at one time, relatively quickly, which often happens, it washes through the garden. And one of our projects that is on our list is to do some water management, rainwater management, looking at probably doing some berms and swales and navigate where that water goes. We'd like to keep a lot of it on the property if we can. So we've got a big project there. Catching, that's one of the things, one of my favorite things as far as bees. I love to go and catch swarms. I have lots of swarm traps. This year I put out a handful, and I caught many hives, many swarms. So far, in my little town, there's a house there where I put up a swarm trap. I have put up several swarm traps at the same time, and I catch swarms there every year. I'm probably from that one house, over 50, maybe 60 swarms from one tree right outside this house where this lady is allergic to bees. So they'd actually had the way that we ran across each other. She called me and they'd had bees move into her house up above one of their windows. And I generally don't do cutouts. I have friends that do that, so I work with them. I refer them over to to get the bees that are in buildings, and then I talk with the homeowners and say, okay, look, if you've had bees once, you're likely to have them again. So let me put up a swarm trap here, and if we get the bees to move into the swarm trap, I just take them back, to our bee yard, and so we save the bees and we make them less of a problem for you. But they're on the bee super highway. And so I've caught probably 50, 60, maybe more swarms from one tree right outside their front door. And I caught 4 there this year from that same tree, 4 swarms. I caught one from my own yard, and then I had a couple other swarm traps out where, we might have got 1 or 2 in other places. But yeah, 4 swarms from that one place. And it's like that every year. I have a couple of buddies that says, well, if you don't do that, let me go and put some swarm traps there. Because as you know, bees can be expensive. If you get in, I did a presentation about a year and a half ago, talking about, so you want to get into bees and what the cost of bees is, getting started in beekeeping. And bees and beekeeping can be fairly expensive to get started in, just with all the gear and hives and bees themselves. So they're not cheap. You're talking, for a package of bees, I don't know what they're running now, $150, $200 for a nuke, maybe more. So, they can go up in price. I typically, if I don't keep them here, I'll often give the bees away. I only have so much equipment. I only have so much space. I only have so much time. So I often give the bees away to other people. And that's probably what I'm going to do this coming year. I have all these swarm traps and I love to do it. It's kind of like fishing for me. I'll catch the bee swarms and make sure they get a good home and less of a problem for people. especially when they're allergic. But yeah, I forget what the price was to get started in beekeeping. If you were to buy everything, it was, just for a couple of bee hives and the bees. I want to say it was about $1,000 or something like that just to get started. It's a little crazy. You can do it a lot cheaper. Yeah, if you can build your own boxes and do swarm traps and be a little patient, uh, you can do it a lot cheaper. And that's kind of what my presentation was outlining all those things. And I'd like to do that more often. I need to do a couple of local talks with bee clubs and excuse me, with other clubs, people that are interested. Last year, I did a presentation for the Dallas Garden Club, and that was fun. We go down there now. We kind of found where they're at. We'll probably join that club, and love talking about gardening and beekeeping and all that good stuff. So yeah, no, it's been an interesting winter here. Sarah, and I think she actually may be back here now. She's working on her seeds and up potting, seeds starting. We've got, I want to say she's probably got 20 or 30 trays of seeds that she started. I'm up to myself probably about 80 fig cuttings that are underway, several that are rooted. I need to get out there and do some more. I've got a refrigerator here in front of me that is got a shelf full of fig cuttings that I need to cut up and get them started. It's interesting. One of the things that was I found very interesting last year, we sold probably about 200 fig trees, but the people that were interested in the fig trees were fascinating. I love talking with people, but their history of where they come from. There is a growing population of people here from places where fig trees are more common. Talking like Italy, the Middle East. In fact, I have a couple of cuttings from a tree that a guy here locally brought back himself from the Middle East. So he gave me a couple of cuttings from that, and I got those started. What else? So I've got some unknown yellow figs. I've got a Cadota that I've started, white Madeira. Got quite a few really good figs that we've got to get going. Started several of them, but I've got a refrigerator full, and I still got to go cut up some trees and prune them back. They are big. The fig trees, most of them I want to say are probably 7 to 8 feet tall right now. The white Madeira that I had grew from about 2.5 feet tall this past spring to when I pruned it a few weeks ago, it was probably 12 feet tall. So it had grown pretty significantly over the year last year. And last year was kind of hot. Our fig production, the trees did really well, but I didn't get as many figs as we had in the past. And I think part of that might be due to the watering and how we do the watering. So they are going to go onto a drip system, which is one of our other projects. Like I mentioned, with working with the rainwater, is getting some drip system set up for our trees and for our vineyard, our new grape tunnel. So lots and lots of things underway. It's interesting. One of the things I talked to the USDA about the rainwater catchment, and I ran across this thing called a thin tank, and I want to say they're I don't know, maybe less than 2 feet wide, and they grow. It's more of a vertical system, and that you can hook them all together. And so I'm working on a project possibly with the USDA. To do some trials with those along the side of my workshop here, and daisy chain them together. I think I can get 6 or 7 of them together. Each one holds about the same or equivalent amount of water as like an IBC tote. One of the interesting things about it is that the system is designed so that you can have like a living wall, a self-watering living wall built right onto those thin tanks. And I want to do some experiments with those and see how they might work for people that have, don't have as much space as I do normally. Smaller, next to a garden, next to a garage or something like that, being able to harvest water in a much smaller footprint and more vertical versus, wide. So trying to do some things that are looking at that. So that's another one of our big projects that's we're looking at. Of course, I don't know if anyone here has done any work with the USDA, but the funding piece and how that all works, this is our first time working with them, so I'm kind of interested to see how it all works out. So anyway, that's been kind of where we're at. I've got some things I got to get back to this morning. I appreciate you all hanging out. If you watch this later, drop us a note. Let us know that you came and took a look. If you have any questions for Sarah or I, beekeeping, gardening here in North Texas, any projects, we love sharing the gardening and our projects and what we've got going on. We love to do garden tours. If you're in the area and want to stop by, you're welcome to come by. We'll chat and talk about gardening and beekeeping and whatever you want to talk about and show you what we got going on. So feel free to reach out. You can always reach us at our email. Let me put that here. I'll put it in the comment. It's john@twodoves.com. And feel free to reach out to us, give us a shout, and I'll put that on the screen there so you can see what we got going on. And give us a call, give us a shout, and look forward to talking with you all again sometime soon. We'll do another pop-up somewhere along the way. I've tried to get Sarah in here with me, but she's busy this morning, and we're a little behind the schedule on our day. So thank you for coming in, and we will talk to you again soon.